Hi guys. I'm going to recap a 2011 Korean drama movie called Always. A certain event caused a former boxing champion to lose his will to compete. However, everything in his life shifts dramatically as he makes the acquaintance of an intriguing blind girl. Is it possible for her to bring some brightness back into his life? Let's find out together. Marcelino is a 30-year-old ex-boxing champion who is currently employed as a gallon delivery guy for a water company. He is timid, and it appears that he has a complicated and troubled history. In spite of the fact that he was once a champion, his life is now uninteresting and unpleasant. He will be working as a parking lot attendant at night as part of his new nighttime employment. Because his old senior is retiring, he has been given the station that he previously held. While it pours outside, he is huddled inside the minuscule pay booth in the parking lot and staring intently at the television on the wall. The booth was suddenly entered by a female who pretended to know him despite the fact that he did not know her. She is taken aback when Marcelino questions her identity and wonders who she is. At that very moment, he realized that the woman was blind, and she had mistaken him for an older co-worker who had worked there in the past. Marcelino informs her about the elderly retired man, and she reveals that she and the man used to watch television together in the past. She offers her regrets before leaving, having realized that the elderly guy is no longer present. However, it is raining outside, and the blind girl is forced to stand in the chilly night in order to wait for the rain to end. She accepts Marcelino's invitation to return to the booth, where the two of them will watch television together. Even though she is unable to see what is taking place on the screen, the blind girl appears content as she watches television. It is more similar to listening to the drama talk than it is to really witnessing it. Marcelino does nothing more than merely sit still by her side, gazing admiringly at the blind girl. She then hands Marcelino the food that she prepared and requests that he maintain the night jasmine plant that is located within the booth by providing it with consistent amounts of water. This pretty odd encounter puts a glimmer of brightness into his otherwise mundane life. When he gets back to his house, he eats the food she provided him and even gives some to his pet turtle as he has made up his mind to do something about his life. The blind girl's job as a customer service representative involves fielding phone calls from clients. Her job is challenging because the clients are frequently impolite. However, given that it is the only work she can perform, she does her best to bear with the conditions. In addition to that, her creepy employer exhibits signs of interest in her. In the meantime, Marcelino makes up his mind to go to his former gym. His trainer and the proprietor of the gym both expressed amazement. Even though his trainer is looking forward to seeing him, the owner of the gym doesn't appear to have forgiven him. It seems that after Marcelino won the title, he vanished without a trace and was never seen again. It results in a significant loss for the proprietor of the gym, who cheered him on and backed him with everything he had. His trainer walks him into the facility, where he runs into an old rival of his. His rival seems to have some unfinished business with him, as evidenced by the fact that he has challenged him to a fight. On the other hand, it does not appear that Marcelino has completely regained his will to battle. The owner of the gym loses his cool after observing how timid he is and kicks him out of the facility. Despite this, the blind girl returns yet again to the same room to watch the same television drama series. This time, she is quite inquisitive about what is taking place on the television screen, and she questions Marcelino about it frequently. He develops feelings for her bit by bit, as time goes on. When all is over, Marcelino expresses his appreciation to the girl for the food she provided earlier by giving her a box of peaches. Marcelino does not learn her name until she is about to leave for her home, at which point she reveals that her name is Yoonghwa. Although she maintains a positive attitude, Yoonghwa's life as a blind person is not an easy one. Her day-to-day existence is filled with a lot of challenges, and on top of that, she lives by herself. The following evening, Marcelino waits anxiously all night for Yoonghwa to arrive. As is customary for them, they take pleasure in the drama together. This time, because Yoonghwa is fascinated about Marcelino's face, they get to know each other better and spend more time together. After they are finished, Yoonghwa will stroll back to her house like she always does. On the other hand, a scum of the earth drives recklessly and comes dangerously close to hitting her this time. As soon as he noticed that she had injured her leg, Marcelino took her to the nearest hospital. After that, he walks her up numerous flights of stairs to her house while carrying her on his back. He cannot comprehend that Yoonghwa is forced to go through things on a daily basis. When he arrives at her home, she requests for his assistance in clearing the clogged drainage, which turns out to be blocked by Yoonghwa's adorable kittens. Despite the fact that she is still ashamed, she decides to thank Marcelino for his assistance by giving him a gift in the form of 2 concert tickets. However, as Marcelino does not have any other friends, the two of them have decided to go together. Both Marcelino and Yoonghwa are ecstatic about this development. They have a wonderful time at the concert together on the day of the date, which they spent together. After that, they share a meal together for supper. It has come to light that Yoonghwa was once a typical person but that she had a traumatic event that caused her to lose her vision. It was the cause of death for both of her parents as well. However, he seems to experience some sort of anxiety whenever she presses him for information regarding his background. He loses his temper all of a sudden, and without meaning to, he teases Junghwa about the food that got on her clothes by mistake. Now that the atmosphere has been ruined, Junghwa decides to end the date. Even now, Marcelino is the one who walks her back to her house and listens to her apology for the way she ruined the evening. Just as she is about to enter her house, Marcelino musters up the confidence to share a little of his history with her. When he was younger, he engaged in boxing and got himself into a lot of problems as a result. Because of this, he is now reduced to the role of a water-gallon boy. However, he is making an effort to recover these days. Because he was embarrassed by his history, he did not want to share it with her. The following day, Junghwa's manager calls her into his office at work to meet with him. He offers her a present and appears to make an advance on her at the same time. However, this causes Junghwa to feel uneasy, so she exits his room while maintaining a nice demeanor. She heads straight home after work rather than engaging in the activities that is customarily done with Marcelino. This makes Marcelino feel downhearted because he had been looking forward to correcting the error he made the previous evening. After giving it some thought, he comes to the conclusion that he should talk to his former coach and the proprietor of the gym. Marcelino remains mute and appears helpless as the owner of the gym becomes increasingly frustrated since he has not yet provided an explanation for why he was absent. But in the end, he gathers up his strength and confesses to them, much to their embarrassment, that he was incarcerated for 4 years and 3 months. After winning the title, he changed careers and has become a debt collector who uses violence on loanees. One night, the cops were called to his room because he was making too much noise by hitting a severely injured victim. To make matters even worse, the destitute man decided he had had enough of his life and set himself on fire before leaping out of the window. He did this while he was attempting to deal with the police. It was so risky that it led to an accident involving a car that was passing by. Because Marcelino's situation did not appear to be improving, he was placed under arrest. The individual was able to survive the fall and is currently being cared for at a Catholic medical facility. Marcelino pays him frequent visits in an effort to make amends for his past error. They appear to have moved past their differences and are now spending a lot of time together. A memento for his lover is presented to him by one of the nurses at the medical facility. However, as he does not have a girlfriend, he is only thinking about one person to present it to in this case. Junghwa takes a stroll through the dark to get home at night. She is taken aback when she opens the door because she thinks she hears someone approaching from behind her. It ended up being her manager all along. It is obvious that he is intoxicated as he tries to push his way into her residence while holding a bottle of wine in his hand. Because Junghwa needs her work, she continues to make an effort to be courteous. Because of her health, it would be difficult for her to obtain another work. However, the situation continues to deteriorate, so she requests that he leave. The shady manager insisted, and she now had a jewelry to wear. However, when she declines, he becomes enraged and attempts to coerce her into doing what he wants by any means necessary. Fortunately, Marcelino appears at the exact right time and thrashes that horrible boss while Junghwa screams her eyes out in horror. Marcelino has arrived to try to calm down Junghwa, but she is still upset because it is possible that she could lose her job. Without it, she has no chance of survival. Marcelino assures her that from this point on, he would look out for her needs. However, she believes that it only serves to make her life more difficult, so she advises him to leave her alone. Marcelino walks away from the present and goes back to his job because he has nothing further to say. The tension between them only grows, but Marcelino just can't seem to be able to walk away from her. Consequently, he follows her about in secret over the course of the subsequent days in order to ensure that she is doing well. One evening, Junghwa unexpectedly approaches him after appearing to have regained her composure. This weekend, she extends an invitation to accompany her on a short vacation to him. Naturally, our young man Marcelino agrees without hesitation. On the day of the trip, Marcelino visits her home with an adorable small dog in tow. He took it in as his own so that it may be with her. After that, the three of them decide to take a trip and spend some time in the great outdoors. By the river, they engage in a wide variety of conversations and each keeps 2 pebbles as a memento of the experience. They each maintain one so that they are constantly reminded of one another. And with that, the 2 of them go on the beginning of a wonderful relationship. Marcelino returns to the gym and continues his preparations for the next mixed martial arts competition now that he has a purpose in life. He prevails in most of the fight and goes on to have a lot of success. After that, he makes modifications to Junghwa's house, which is where they currently reside together, so that it is cozier for her. Because they can always count on one another, their existence as a couple is becoming increasingly vibrant. After some time has passed, Junghwa introduces him to her late parents by taking him to the memorial place they shared. She goes on to tell Marcelino more about her family, including how a vehicle accident caused her to lose her sight as well as both of her parents. At that point, Marcelino is made aware of the fact that he was detained for the same incident. Therefore, it is due to him that Junghwa suffers the loss of his sight as well as the deaths of both of her parents. This stunning discovery has left him in utter disbelief. However, he still does not have the courage to discuss this matter with Junghwa. Later, Jung Hwa's sight is growing worse. Her vision is currently very hazy, but the physician anticipates that it will become completely opaque very soon. She will soon require a transplant, but there is not yet a suitable donor available. Therefore, the physician proposes that Marcelino just buy it instead, despite the fact that it is rather pricey. Because he is short on cash, he decides to borrow some money from an old adversary of his. He puts him in contact with a dubious boss, who then registers Marcelino for an illegal fight in Thailand. He is given a down payment that is sufficient to cover the cost of Jung Hwa's procedure. Nevertheless, he must now compete in several dubious fighting matches as soon as possible. He does not let Jung Hwa know about the job and instead tells her that he has some savings to cover the cost of the operation. At first, she declines, claiming that the fact that she is blind absolves her of responsibility for her parents' passing. However, she finally gives in when Marcelino asks if she would like to view the faces of his and their potential future children. He stays with Jung Hwa at the hospital up to the beginning of the operation, after which he secretly departs for Thailand without informing her. When he gets there, he discovers that the fight will take place in a bloodied cage until one of the competitors is knocked out. While it is also being aired to the realm of underground illicit gambling, which includes some wealthy clientele who watch the fight live, he puts forth a tremendous effort to stay alive throughout the conflict, but to no avail. He ultimately emerges victorious. This infuriates his longtime adversary Marcelino when it was revealed that he had placed a bet against Marcelino. The winner of the match will receive a diamond as the reward, which he will then have to smuggle back into Korea. But just as Marcelino is about to leave Thailand, his old adversary and his men show up to stab him and steal the diamond from him. During this time, in Korea, Jung Hwa had successfully recovered from her surgery and regained her sight. But Marcelino is nowhere to be found, and it doesn't matter how long she waits for him. Additionally, she is required to vacate her current residence. Just in the nick of time, the Catholic hospital sends a package addressed to Marcelino just before she leaves. After that, she travels there, where she eventually encounters the broken man as well as the sisters. They immediately identify her as Marcelino's girlfriend due to the fact that he always talks about her. After listening to the account about his accident, Jung Hwa is able to piece together what really took place. She ruminates for a time, but it appears that she has come to terms with what happened after the accident. The cycle of life continues, and she is now a sculptor working in her workshop. She makes several attempts to imitate Marcelino's visage, but she is unable to do so because she has never actually seen his face. Aside than that, her life is relatively unchanging. In her spare time, she volunteers at a local medical facility. And to everyone's surprise, Marcelino is one of the patients at the facility this time. She gives him a massage despite the fact that she is unaware of who he is. Marcelino, who also wants severe ties with her, is being very careful not to make any noises. Because of the harm done to his body, he does not wish to be a burden on anyone. When Marcelino is discharged from the hospital, he makes a trip to see Jung Hwa at her shop. He also retrieves his beloved turtle and places it in a new vase that contains a night jasmine plant. Outside of the store, his dog acknowledges his presence and rushes over to greet him. As Jung Hwa leaves, he realizes that the man is the patient he had cared for in the hospital and apologizes to him. When she returns back to the store, she discovers that the pet turtle has been taken, and the dog is continuing to howl. She inquires with the worker as to whether or not somebody using crutches has arrived recently. Almost instantaneously, she comes to the conclusion that it is Marcelino. She dashes desperately outdoors in an attempt to locate him but is ultimately unsuccessful. She gives it a lot of thought and then visits the location where they had their trip before. There they are, face to face, just as planned by destiny. The events of the story culminate with the two of them getting back together again. And with that, the story comes to a conclusion with them living happily ever after. Love is the only thing that gives life its true significance. A partnership that is destined to be together runs deep and will always find its way, even if it does so in an unpleasant fashion. What do you think of this movie? Subscribe to watch more videos like this, turn on notifications, and leave a like to help the channel. Thank you for watching, and see you next time.